Hello there everyone and welcome back to another Muunilinst mock update video. In this video, for the first couple minutes, I'm going to be discussing the overall plans for the rest of the mock and what I'm going to do for the rest of the city area, and I kind of asked for some ideas and feedback from you guys, so definitely let me know your thoughts and feedback on the plans in the comment section below. And then for the second half of the episode, I'm going to be working on the next building, and I get a good amount of progress started on that building, so lots of exciting things in this episode, and without any further ado, let's get started. Alright guys, so this first segment right here is going to be a little bit of talking, so heads up on that. I'll try to put some sort of timestamp or time mark on screen to let you guys know when I actually start building, but I need to discuss a few things here with you guys before we get going because I've been thinking about a lot of things and have come up with a few decisions. So as you guys know, we've got a lot of the mock done. The battlefield right here has been looking good for a while. This middle part's been done for a while with these buildings, these two large-scale buildings, and then recently I completed that large-scale building. And down here is how much space we've got left on the mock, and if you guys have been tuning into the live streams, I've been talking a lot about this during the streams. I'm starting to run out of room on the mock in terms of how many things I want to still include, and then like in terms of how much is actually left on the build. And there's a lot of iconic things from Muunilinst, right? We've got the giant tower with the cannon, we've got the speeder bike chase, and we've got the gunship crash. Now I wanted to include some of those, so obviously we're going to do the speeder bike charge, but between the tower and the gunship crash, I really wanted to include something because those two things are very iconic with Muunilinst. So essentially what I did was I started to build, and I'll show you guys a model that I did, a very small like micro scale model, and then I kind of measured out how big the giant tower would have to be with the cannon on it that the ARC troopers attack in the show. It's a really cool scene and the tower is really awesome with the cannon. I kind of started to measure things out to see how big it would be, and I kind of got to the point where it wasn't going to fit. It was going to be way too big, it was kind of going to get in the way of all these buildings, and I don't think it was going to look very good. So I don't think the cannon's going to be something I am able to do for this mock. I have some plans that I'm kind of going through, and I kind of spoke about them last live stream a little bit on kind of what I'm thinking about doing, but I'll perhaps mention that at a later date. So what I decided was, alright, well that kind of leaves the gunship crash. I'm going to try to do the gunship crash. The only problem is there's not much room left in the mock for it. So essentially, as you can see here, we'll get to the gunship crash in a second, I have outlined 3 buildings. So we've got one back there, one over there, and one right here. Those are the 3 remaining buildings that I want to do. That back one will be more of a tower kind of thing in terms of these all have these pillars and they're kind of these square and rectangle buildings. This one's just going to be a very tall, kind of more skinny building. That one I don't know exactly what that'll be yet, and this one down here will be a bigger one, kind of like that building. So I've got 3 more buildings outlined right there. That way what's going to allow that to do is now I can have the road kind of go in and curve in and out because I kind of wanted to get some of those narrow Muunilinst streets going, so that's what I was able to do there. Down over here, the gunship crash. Now if you guys have heard me talk about this before, the gunship, the Lego gunship obviously is not to scale and it's quite massive, so that would not fit down in this corner right here at all, which is where I want to do the gunship crash. It seems like that's the only spot available for the gunship crash. You've also heard me talk about before on some of the live streams and past videos that I don't want to buy instructions or do a custom model from anybody else or have to pay for any models or anything like that. When I make a mock, maybe this is a little kind of egotistical and kind of an ego thing, but I like everything on the mock to be something that I have created or something that my collab partner Paul has created. I like everything to be, mock stands for my own creation, so I like everything on there to be kind of custom. So what I've decided is, as you can see down here, I want to start building a custom gunship, parts of it though. Essentially, since this is going to be a crashed gunship, instead of building a full-on gunship, I'm going to build parts of the gunship, and I'll kind of show some details on this later. But I want to build just parts of the gunship, so like the wings, some of the cockpit, some of the doors, just small little parts here and there that I can place around the crash site. So that way I don't have to build a full gunship because I'm not very good at making vehicles or ships or anything like that. I'm not the best at that. So this way I'll still have the gunship crash. It'll be a custom model that I make, but it'll be kind of parts of the gunship. So you'll see kind of the outline of the gunship and certain parts that you'll recognize, but you won't see the full build. So we'll still be able to have the crash site. So that's kind of the goal coming up here. That plan might change as we kind of go down the road, but that's the plan right now. 3 more buildings and the gunship crash, and that's kind of what's going to fill this back area. So for this episode, I'm going to go through kind of some of the stuff I did with that first part of the gunship model, and I'm also going to start on that back building, and we'll see how far I get done for this episode. But sorry about talking for so long. I just wanted to let you guys know kind of what I had planned. For now, we'll see if the plan changes, but this is kind of what I got going on for the rest of Muunilinst here. 3 more buildings and a gunship crash. So that's about it. Thank you guys for sitting there and listening to me kind of ramble on for a couple minutes here. Just my thoughts and opinions on what I should do for the rest of the MOC. So definitely, if you guys have any ideas or feedback on the plans for the rest of the MOC, definitely let me know in the comment section below. But let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, so first thing I want to show you real quick was this kind of microscale tower that I built. So I mentioned that there is that giant Muunilinst tower with the cannon on it that I wanted to try to build, but then I quickly realized that I didn't have enough room in the MOC. So essentially what I did, the first thing I did was create a kind of microscale model to kind of get an idea of how the build would look, so you can see some of that trans dark red, I guess normal red actually, would be like the windows on the tower, and then the control room is up top over there, and then obviously the cannon would kind of be somewhere down here, kind of sticking out like that, or maybe a little higher, depending where I would place it. But yeah, here's kind of the mini microscale model that I built, and then quickly realized that it would need to be a giant tower, and there's simply not enough room on the MOC at this point, unfortunately, to do that, but perhaps I'll find a solution later on down the road. But this is kind of what I got for the microscale tower. Let's go ahead and move on to the rest of the build. Alright guys, so I thought I'd show you kind of what I've got going on with the gunship so far. It's not much, but I kind of just sat down and started building it and wanted to see where it went, and then I kind of had the idea of, well, I don't have to build an entire gunship because I am doing a gunship crash, so I'm just kind of be building parts of it, and you can kind of recognize that it's a gunship, but there'll be different parts kind of spread out around the gunship where clones will be taking cover behind and kind of returning fire up at the separatists, like trying to snipe them and stuff like that. So that is kind of the idea. One thing I did do with this design, you might notice on stuff like the sliding door over here onto this side, and other things like that, is I kind of looked at the Lego version from 2013 and kind of looked at that, used some of the same techniques, but I made them a little bit smaller, and I also modified them a little bit to kind of fit that scale and added some few unique things to it. So essentially I kind of am building just a downscaled version of the Lego set. That's kind of what I'm trying to do here. We'll see if I end up doing this. I may like do it for another couple weeks and be like, yeah, this sucks, and then just stop doing it. But here's kind of what I've got going so far. Again, it's not much, but here's kind of what I got. So we've got some of the front of the gunship down here with some of the turrets, and I was able to get some of that lime green going, which I think it looks cool. The lime green mixing with dark red and white is always a cool combo. I've got some of the turrets, or some of the blasters right there. Started on some of the cockpit with the dark red going up and up. Again, none of this is finished whatsoever. This is my first pass through just so I could put something on the table to show you guys here. And then I've got the door right here, which is pretty much a replica of the Lego version. It's just changed a little bit and a little bit smaller as well. And then I was trying to get the height down, so some of these slopes look a little weird and they're not entirely lined up perfectly, but overall this is what I've got going so far. But overall this is what I've got for the gunship. I'm going to continue to work on this throughout the next couple weeks here, adding a few things here and there, and by no means is this going to be a awesome 1-to-1 scale custom, amazing looking gunship. This is literally just going to be me building certain parts of the gunship and kind of getting ready to make this just an absolutely crashed, demolished area where the gunship just hit the ground. We'll make it a lot more dramatic than it was in the show and have pieces everywhere and clones all over the place taking cover behind it and stuff like that. So that is the plan. Alright guys, for the rest of the episode here, I'm going to be working on this back building. So if you remember the overview, I mentioned that I did want to have a building right here, and I was looking at screenshots from Muunilinst, and there's a lot of buildings that are very skinny but are very tall. Most of these other buildings that I've built so far have been fairly wide. Still tall, but pretty wide, and they've had these pillars. I want to try to do a different design, so that's what I'm kind of working on. Over here, here's what I've got so far. Just kind of a bunch of bricks straight up the middle here, nothing too special. I've got some window pieces right there, lined up in an interesting pattern to kind of hopefully give it more of a Muunilinst vibe. Got the sand green masonry brick, and then on both sides you can see I've got those 1x2 bricks with kind of the groove in the middle, and that goes all the way down to give it some texture. I think I've come up with a couple other designs here to add on to this front part so it's not so plain, I'm going to go ahead and add those in, and I'll update you guys once I have some more progress. Alright guys, so here's what I've come up with. I filled that gap in between those 1x2 bricks with the grooves on the side, or the groove down the middle, and essentially what I did here was I stacked a bunch of 1x1 bricks with the stud on the side and then kind of spaced them out evenly, and then I ended up putting 1x2 sand green tiles on those modified bricks and stacked them all the way up. So this is kind of the effect it gives. The 1x2 tiles kind of stick out just slightly from the actual 1x2 groove pieces, so you can see the tiles right here, they kind of stick out just barely, and they kind of give a little bit more attention and detail to the build. Plus we've got this smoothness going on these sides, the grooves, and then the smoothness from the tiles. So I think it works fairly well. Hopefully you guys like this design. I was trying to come up with something that was different than these buildings, just because I wanted to make it stand out a little bit more and do a different design from this one, because a lot of the Muunilinst buildings you see, there's a good amount of diversity within the buildings in terms of how they're designed. So I wanted to try to replicate that a little bit here, and that's what I've got on this front side. So now I'm going to go ahead and move on to the sides of the building and see what I come up with, but this is what I've got going so far, and then obviously it's going to go up a little bit more, and I think it would be nice to have another balcony or something, so that way we can have two sets of droids shooting down at the gunship, so I can kind of recreate that scene from the show. So that is the plan. I'm going to go ahead and get back to work. Alright guys, here's what I have come up with here. You saw I had this front side done in the last clip. Essentially what I've done is on this left side, you can see I've created a few more pillars to add onto the wall, and they're kind of offset by one stud each time, and that kind of creates that interesting diagonal look to it, if that makes sense. So one thing I'm noticing now is this is part of the problem with running out of room on the MOC. I'm out of room on that side, so I can't really do that pattern on that side. The only way I could change this is if I move it closer to this building, but I still don't know if that would be enough space to do this design on the other side. So that's a big thing where I just ran out of room, and now I can't really replicate that on that other side. I don't know what I'm going to do. We'll see how it plays out, but here's what the building is looking like so far. I think it looks okay. I'm still not sure. Obviously right now it just looks like a giant wall, doesn't look like much of a building, but I want to make a few more changes, like adding another balcony up there, and then obviously once we get the roof on and stuff like that, it's going to look more like a building. But right now it just looks like a wall. That's because that's what it is. It's not complete yet, obviously, but the only thing I'm a little curious about is, this is going to sound really weird, but does the building feel too colorful? And what I mean by that is not too colorful in a sense of like different bright colors, but I mean like, are there too many colors going on this building? So we've got like some areas are light gray, some are sand green, and then we've got some sand green cutting in between the light gray, and we have some light gray cutting in between the sand green. I'm just wondering if there's too many different intersecting parts that are different colors here. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I don't know. We'll see about that. But here's what I've got going on the left side of this building, and yeah, we'll see how much more I can get done for this episode, but I'll definitely give you guys another update here if I get any more progress done. Alright guys, so another thing I'm working on here, this is actually the inside of the building. I haven't had any interiors yet on the build, but I think this building will be a great one for interiors, just because I can clear out this side. Since I can't really go diagonal on this side, I can kind of clear out this wall and move in here and have perhaps an interior. So one thing I'm messing around with is kind of the back side of the wall having some explosions in it right there. You can see I'm experimenting with some different slope pieces right there and T-slopes to give an interesting diagonal kind of destroyed wall feel. And this one right here on that side is a little bit bigger, but the idea is so you can kind of look in and see the alleyway and see some battles going on in there, or perhaps even the clones have breached from right there and are kind of coming into the building, and this is like maybe a droid command center, or there's some droids like holding up in here. I'm not really too sure yet, but I kind of wanted to mess around a little bit with that. So just a quick update, I think it will be cool to have an interior in here. So I do want to plan on having an interior for this building back here, but there is a little bit of an update for you guys. Alright guys, so I did a little bit more work on this building. You can see on the left side, next to the other large scale building, I have built up the walls that go diagonal that way just a little bit, so now they match up with the rest of the building over here. That far, you can see a corner back there where you can see through where I haven't filled up the wall yet. That'll be I'll be able to finish that up once I complete the kind of debris section back there with the blown out wall that I showed you guys. The main thing for this episode that I wanted to get across to you guys was my remaining plan for the build, with this kind of going to be a big large scale building, and then that's going to be a medium-sized one, and then this one that I started to work on for this episode is kind of a more larger, skinny style tower that goes straight up. The other main thing I wanted to let you guys know was I am looking for feedback and suggestions on this area, so if you have any ideas on what you want me to include, is there anything that I'm not thinking of that I need to include, or any cool ideas that you guys have, let me know in the comment section below, and kind of just let me know that if you have any plans or anything that might be cool that I could do down in this area. But for now, the plan is 2 more buildings, plus that one we worked on today, and of course the crashed gunship down over here, and then we'll have the streets going through these little alleyways to make them kind of these narrowed streets. So that is the plan. I think this building that I worked on for this episode is turning out decent so far. I raised up a few concerns in the previous clips, so I'll be happy to hear what you guys have to say on any feedback, but I am liking the overall design of the building in terms of the diagonal part on the left side, where you get these kind of interesting spaces and divides that are offset by one stud, so then it kind of can give that cool look to it. For next episode, I want to finish up the back side of the wall over there with the destroyed kind of blown out section that I spoke of in the previous clip, and then I also want to add a balcony or some sort of railing or something up top where droids can snipe off the top, and then of course a roof as well. So that's kind of the plan for next episode. Hopefully I'll be able to start on the rest of these 2 buildings fairly soon as well, but for the next episode or so we're going to focus on this building right here. So that's pretty much going to be it. Probably not the most exciting episode, so I apologize for that, but I just wanted to give you guys an update on what the plan was for the rest of the build and show off some progress that I've got done on this new building. It's going to act more as like kind of a tower structure for Muunilinst to kind of give the buildings a little bit of kind of uniqueness and make them a little more diverse within the actual city itself, so the buildings look different and they can resemble a lot of the screenshots I was looking at from the actual show. So that's going to be it for this episode. Let's go ahead and move on to the outro. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you did enjoy. Again, my apologies for there being a lot of talking and discussing, but I wanted to let you guys know on what the plans are for the rest of the MOC. But I am happy with the progress that I got done with the front side of this new building. I think it's going to turn out looking pretty good, but I am definitely looking forward to reading your guys' feedback and comments on the building, as well as the overall plans for the rest of the MOC. So that's about it. As always, leave your feedback in the comment section below. Hope you guys have a great day, and may the Force be with you always.